creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Actors from the TV show The Originals received calls from real witches and were told they are putting spells in people's living rooms all across America. Be careful of what you watch and check this video out.
There's a rumor that production was called by real witches of New Orleans saying you're playing with fire and you got to change up your chants. It's true?
So in season 1, when I was the writer's assistant, I wrote the chants. And I would go online and look up spells. It's like, why not? And then I'd change a couple words. I'd figure out a spell, and then I'd go and change a couple words to French, and a couple words to Creole, a couple words to Haitian Creole. Or you do Google.
Get my way difficult.
You do Google translate to Haitian Creole, and then I'd throw some Latin in. And I was just making some spells, and then we got a call from a woman in New Orleans who was like, I think that you're playing with fire. I think that you're, what are you trying to do? You're putting these spells in everybody's living room all across America.
Same thing with Vampire Diaries. They were chanting real Latin spells.
After about 200 years, a bloodline will just die out because they're infertile from so much inbreeding. And so they would just take a cadet family, one of the other branches, and they'd plug them in. And so it was the same bloodline. But if you look at the Habsburgs, they all have strawberry blonde hair. It's reddish blonde. And there's a Pope, Orsini, who had reddish blonde hair, and I think he was involved in the Habsburg line. Another one is Bill Clinton's mother, who was the illegitimate child of Winthrop Rockefeller, who was governor of Arkansas. That's why Clinton was president, and now Hillary Clinton. She's actually, her middle name was Rodham. What I looked it up, and it was shortened from Brodowski, and she's from a Jewish family in Brodowski, Poland. They keep rebreeding the ancient stock. The chi in Italian, Medici. Yeah, chi means the stock, the bloodline you're from, or the tribe. It means DNA is what it means. And it's always through the female. It's not through the male. It's through the female.
No longer secret surface when you can see behind the curtain.
Morbid Facts, Part 668. In 2019,
Facts.
Daniela Lace left a Marilyn Manson concert in Ontario while heavily intoxicated and drove the wrong way down a residential street, crashing into a home and rupturing a gas line. 15 minutes later, the house exploded, destroying 4 homes, injuring 7 people, including first responders, and causing an estimated $10 to $15 million in damage. Lace was sentenced to 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to impaired driving causing bodily harm. In a bizarre twist, she and her father later sued the concert venue's alcohol vendor, claiming they were responsible for overseeing her and allowing her to drive drunk. The Bodies exhibit, which displays real...
if you drink and drive, it's on you. Amazing no one died.
Human cadavers preserved through plastination has long been shrouded in controversy due to allegations that many of the bodies were sourced from Chinese prisons without consent. Human rights groups believe that some of the corpses may belong to executed prisoners or political dissidents, including members of persecuted groups like Falun Gong. In 2008, the exhibit's parent company was forced to admit that it couldn't verify the origins of the bodies, posting a disclaimer that some remains may have come from Chinese prisoners. Visitors may unknowingly be viewing the dissected bodies of people who died under horrific conditions.
Epstein via Wang. Seems that they were very good friends. We first heard her name in connection with Epstein when the birthday book came out. She wrote only in yellow highlighter. J. Megan on TikTok, who we love, traced what was said in pen so we can read it. It says, quotations concert on your quotations concert, grand exclamation. Golf lessons, it's time now. And videotaped exclamation, mint julep quotations at the Rebus Plaza quotations, a quote shopping trip with your quote old friend V question mark, a quote colonoscopy once a year.
What?
And then over and over it says love Vera, love Vera, love Vera, love Vera 100 times. The point is they're very good friends.
These are some of the most terrifying Christian relics, and the last one is definitely the craziest. First is the skull of a woman who spent most of her life with Jesus. But the mystery gets deeper. But the craziest part about this is that behind the skull in a separate glass vial is skin that has stayed there apparently for centuries. Legend says that this is the exact spot that Jesus touched her after the resurrection because this is Mary Magdalene. But even crazier is the incorrupt body of Saint Catherine of Bologna. This is not something from Avengers Infinity War. This is the result of 500 years of candlelight hitting the top of it and burning it. But what's crazy is that when she was first dug up from the ground, it was reported that her body was emitting a sweet-smelling liquid. What's even crazier is that her hair and nails continued to grow for years after she was placed in the chair, requiring the nuns to consistently groom her, which would have been a crazy sight. Next is the tongue and jaw of St. Anthony. I literally thought that this was out of a horror movie, but this is actually something preserving a tongue. Because when his tomb was opened in 1263, the rest of his body was just liquid and blood, except his tongue seemed as red as my tongue. Legend has it this is because he spent his entire life blessing the Lord, thus it was saved. But in 1981, scientists did a secret examination on it, trying to see if it was real or fake. And they found that not only was the tongue preserved, but also the vocal cords were preserved, which is crazy because they are usually the first things to decompose when a body dies. But another shocking thing is that you can find bejeweled catacomb saints. What you're looking at are skeletons of early Christians who died because of persecution, or spent their entire life in hiding and died a natural death here. To make them look less dead, nuns would often place jewels in the eye sockets to make them look less scary. Maybe you never forget them. Next is the severed head of St. Catherine of Siena. Apparently the origin of this is that her followers couldn't get her entire body out of where it was. So instead, they chopped off her head and smuggled that out of there. A recent scientific study found that the head had shrunk, but it remained mostly intact. But her skin still bared the marks of the stigmata, which she claimed she received the nail wounds of Christ during her life. And then we have the mummified hand of Saint Teresa, which definitely was the inspiration for Thanos. Basically, Saint Teresa of Avila's hand was encased inside of this glove with diamonds around it. And during the Spanish Civil War, it was stole from a nun's convent. And the leader of Spain at the time, Franco, was obsessed with this glove, and he didn't just sleep with it, he literally took with him everywhere he went. He believed that the hand gave him the divine right to rule over Spain.
You know, as good as it may sound and looks, this is a straight up adultery.
JFK Jr. never died, and they're coming back. So last night, I watched the final episode of the Love Story JFK Jr. show that just came out, and the last clip is the both of them sitting on a beach. Now, obviously, some people might think, yeah, it's because they're angels now. They're up in heaven and they're just sitting on a beach. No. They faked their own deaths. And this show was to refresh so that when they come back into public appearance, we're like, at least, there's been a refresh in the computer. I was not alive when this happened. So I'm really excited to see them in the flesh. Because wouldn't it make sense if his father was part of the good ones and then the bad, evil guys was like, no, we got to get them out of here. And then his son was like, we need to pretend that we're, so that when we come back for the liberation of humanity that's happening right now, oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps. Holy shit.
What?
No, let's go, please. People are not ready to talk about Nephilim. People are not ready to talk about giants because it makes them so incredibly uncomfortable. People are not ready to talk about the fact that the map of the cave systems directly lines up with the map of people that have disappeared without a trace. I am telling you right now, we are living in a graveyard of giants, and the giants that are still here are under our feet. I know this sounds crazy, but just hear me out. I'm going to take you guys on a crazy, crazy ride. Before we get into the two most chilling modern day sightings of giants and the fact that both of these people, one was silenced and one was almost silenced, like in modern day, and people still have their disbeliefs. Anyway, before we get into that, we need to go from the beginning, what the Nephilim are, who they are, for the people that are new here. So Genesis 6 speaks of the Nephilim, but for some reason it's something that people overlook quite often. When the fallen angels came down and procreated with mortal women, making a species of giants, and a ravenous species of giant at that. Their hunger was insatiable. First, they would eat up all the resources for humans. Then they started to eat the humans. And then, because they were so cannibalistic and had such a ravenous hunger, they started to consume each other. So, mind you, these Nephilim are being cannibalistic. There is debauchery going on with the fallen angels. The women, it's too much going on. They're mixing DNA, the fallen angels, that is. At this point, God sends the flood because it is ridiculous. Okay, let me specify. The mixing of DNA and things of that nature, that comes from the book of Enoch, which I read as history, not scripture. I do believe it happened, but I cannot say for sure that the Apocrypha is God-breathed. So I read it as history, just to be safe. So flood happens, right? Like I said. In Genesis 6, it says that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards. That is so important to take heed of because I truly believe, I'm not really sure how, but these Nephilim either survived or their DNA survived after the flood.
Giants, lizard people, dogmen, Sasquatch. I think they're all real.
Someone please tell me what is going on with Kesha. After becoming a free woman in the industry, it seems that she's just gotten more exploitative of herself, a little bit more darker, and a lot more witchier. In her concerts and in a lot of her photos, I've been noticing this pyramid she keeps showing and this headdress that definitely reminds you of a demigod. I also keep noticing this head that she keeps carrying around, which represents the old version of her, while the new version of her emerges. But this version of Kesha feels a lot more darker than the version we have ever seen before. But could it be possible that some of these Hollywood celebrities are not only interacting with fallen deities, but possibly embodying fallen angels? Listen to a few of these clips from her most recent interview, and you tell me, is she interacting with angels or is she interacting with the fallen?
Fallen angels, absolutely.
Collect human teeth. Let's talk about that. So I've been collecting them for a while now, and I make art out of them. I have my cats had to get their little teeth taken out because they were, I don't know, their little kitty wisdom teeth. I'm like the tooth fairy.
Cat has wisdom teeth.
I'm currently trying to design a coffee table, and the center I want to just be a bowl of all the teeth. So for real, if people want to send it to me, this is actually art I make out of it.
Wait, the thing you're carrying isn't a tooth, right?
Oh no, that's my placenta. Your placenta supposedly gives you second sight, according to my mother. So she stuck it in the oven, she put it in a box, and she found it when I was 21 years old in the basement. We found it, throw it in the blender, pop it in a necklace. Work.
That's your placenta, and it's in there?
Uh-huh.
And do you travel with that everywhere?
Yeah. I love a ritual that reminds me of this esoteric world I prefer to live in. Down here on earth, boring. When I go up into with my spirit guides and the whole realm of angels, that's where I prefer to be.
And that's where Kesha
Yep, she's into witchcraft, all right.
prefers to be. So you guys tell me. Is Kesha just mingling with these innocent guardian angels, or is she possibly mingling in something much, much darker?
Demonic.
This lead singer of a band decided one day to cook his girlfriend and fed it to the rest of his bandmates.
What?
So this happened in Russia in 2009 to this girl named Karina. She was 16 years old at the time. She started dating the lead singer of this metal band out there. His name was Maxim. He was 20, and her mom just did not like him at all and didn't approve. This one day, she tells her mom, hey, Mom, I was about to go hang out at a girlfriend's house, and I was probably going to spend the night, so I won't come until late or tomorrow morning. She was actually going to this house party that Maxim was throwing with his band. So they're at the party. They're all having a good time. They're hanging out. Towards the end of the night, Maxim and Karina end up going up the stairs, and they both go in a bathroom, and they're there for hours throughout the night. I guess Maxim and a couple of the other bandmates, they had a roommate who was this girl. So as she's going to the bathroom, one of the other bandmates stops her before she goes to the door and tells her, "You're not going to want to go in there."
So his other bandmates knew what was going on in there.
His other bandmates knew what was happening in that bathroom. The next morning, this dude Maxim's in the kitchen and he's cooking. He's whipping up. This roommate ate this meal and had no idea that Maxim, when he took Karina in that bathroom, He actually was strangling her, and I think he also tried to drown her in the bathroom.
Oh, shit.
He decided to go and put her body pieces in a pot.
And cooked her.
They cooked her
Oh
and
my
made beef stew.
Bro.
With potatoes. So her mom eventually calls police. They start interrogating these dudes because they end up taking all of them in. They are asking them a bunch of questions. And what blew my mind is the guys go and say, we did it, but the only reason why we did is because we were drunk and then we got hungry.
Really? So instead of ordering pizza or something like that, they decided to chop her up and cook her.
Cook his girlfriend. Yeah, that's what he said to the cops.
Explaining the iceberg of people whose fate is unknown. Rockefeller eaten by cannibals. So Michael Rockefeller was the great-grandson of, the famous guy, John D. Rockefeller, who was the oil tycoon. However, Michael Rockefeller didn't want anything to do with managing his family's empire. He was really interested in tribal artwork and uncontacted people. And so he set out to this remote area in the
Man, look at that. The guy in the back with the giant smile, freaking me out.
the western part of New Guinea, and his goal was to just find artwork and talk with the people, the Asmat people. However, Rockefeller's boat capsized 3 miles off the coast of New Guinea's southern coast, and he was with another guy, and that guy said that he attempted to swim to shore, but that was the last time he was ever seen or heard of. Authorities eventually declared that he was drowned in 1964, but some people claim that they actually buried the truth because it was too horrific to reveal, and that he actually made it to shore and was eaten by the Asmat people. Now, for context, the reason why he would have been eaten was actually because not long before this Dutch colonial patrol had actually killed several prominent Asmat village leaders, and so the Asmat people likely would have done and required this ritual revenge that ends in cannibalism because it would have unbalanced their cosmos according to their traditions. And so really 4 things could have happened to Rockefeller. One was that he just drowned, but he did have a float with him, so he probably could have made it to shore. 2 was that he didn't make it to shore and he was eaten by saltwater crocodiles, which are in the area. 3 is that he did make it to shore, but then the Asmat people found him and ate him. Or 4, that he joined their tribe. Now, the reason I say that is because there was
I like number 4.
A documentary that National Geographic was making about the Asmat tribe not too long afterwards. And there is this video of what looks like a white man with them rowing one of their canoes. So it's very strange that they got this footage. Some people think it was maybe just one of the tribal people with albinoism or whatever. But there is a book by Carl Hoffman where he went to New Guinea much later on after this whole incident and documented that some of the Asmat elders admitted to eating him in a ritual. So cannibalism is still on the table there. Anyways, it's all very strange. There are so many people that just disappear and you never find them. They're never found again unless they were found by crabs or cannibals. But I'm glad that you're not one of those people and that you're watching this video. You're a deranged viewer. If you like long videos just like this one, then there are more on YouTube that are much longer than this. I make very long videos. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything specific in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
So this is occultist S.L. Mathers, not to be confused with Marshall Mathers. No relation, allegedly. Something interesting about S.L. Mathers is that he was a Freemason. That is true. You know who else was technically a Freemason? It was this guy. You all recognize him. He is Aleister Crowley. Now, was Aleister Crowley officially in the books of the Freemason? Technically, no. He was an unofficial Mason, but he was officially a part of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was founded by S.L. Mathers. These two wrote quite a few books together, or I should say, translated quite a few books together. See, S.L. Mathers knew something about Aleister Crowley that many were not giving him credit for. You can imagine during the time of the occultists, you had S.L. Mathers, something like a Joe Rogan per se. Aleister Crowley would have been more of the Alex Jones.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
So why am I talking about this? Well, I'm talking about it because we are entering a time now where we can officially say that we are in the days of Noah. And as many of you know, in the days of Noah, there were fallen angels. It was Aleister Crowley who said, today they call them angels and demons, and tomorrow they'll call them something else. Just gets weirder and weirder.
You know, Jack Parsons' connection to Crowley and what will be known later as NASA are extremely interesting.
Many refer to him as the wickedest man in the world. Let's talk about Aleister Crowley. Edward Alexander Crowley was born on October 12th, 1875.
The real Voldemort, as everyone says.
1975, into a wealthy but extremely strict religious family. Believe it or not, his dad was a preacher, so from a very young age, he was expected to follow very rigid Christian rules. His upbringing felt very controlling and isolating, that from what I read, the more his parents wanted to push Christianity onto him, the more he wanted to rebel against it. At just 11 years old, his dad passed away, and his mom ended up sending him to boarding school, and this is where he started questioning everything. He was a smartass. He would push back against his teachers any chance he got. He would do things like tear pages out of the Bible to use as rolling paper to smoke. He was always acting out and eventually got kicked out. It got to the point where his own mom labeled him as the devil and gave him the nickname the Beast. But even though he was a rebellious kid who was always getting into trouble, he still ended up inheriting his father's wealth. And it basically gave him the freedom to do and study whatever he wanted. So as a young adult, he attended college at Cambridge. And this is where he started reading about mysticism, occult, and different spiritual philosophies. This is also where he joined a secret society called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And that's when he really started learning magic. He eventually fell out with that group and went on to do his own thing. He later became involved with a German occult organization called Ordo Templi Oranitis, where he claimed to have discovered the secret to all occult knowledge, which according to him was sex magic. In 1912, he became the leader of the organization and transformed it into his own religion, Thelema, where he taught, do what thou wilt, basically promoting you could do whatever you want to get what you want without any limits. He taught his followers rituals involving blood, sex, drugs, ceremonial magic, animal sacrifice. It's even rumored that some members passed away during some of the rituals. Aleister Crowley died on December 1st, 1947, and the OTO still exists today. And this is barely scratching the surface when it comes to talking about him. So if you found this video interesting, make sure you like it and tell me in the comments what I should talk about next.
A ghost appeared to Blake during a ritual and told him to paint its portrait. This is what he saw. Blake didn't question it. He picked up a pencil and started drawing. What he captured was a creature. Muscular. Reptilian. Holding a cup of blood. Stepping forward like it owned the room. Blake saw visions his entire life. Angels. Spirits. Historical figures. He treated them all as real. This one asked to be painted. The painting is smaller than this phone screen. It's been sitting in a London museum for 200 years. Look at its eyes. It knows you're there.
People don't take the whole angels and demons thing seriously until it's too late.
It almost feels evil, the conflicts and the war and the powers that be. Yeah, the CIA is using demons to help them in warfare. So they sent some high-ranking witches and warlocks into the spirit world to get the highest-ranking demons to help in war. This is in an unreleased, declassified CIA document. Did you just say demons? Yeah, it was like an offshoot of MK Ultra, and they basically, instead of manipulating people's minds, they went to manipulate demons to help them. But they didn't want just like any demon. They wanted the biggest and the baddest that they could find. And so that's why they needed the cultivated like witches and warlocks to go find them. But it doesn't fully explain it in these documents that you showed. It just kind of talks about MK Ultra and mentions like other types of experiments that were done. Well, it's really not that hard to figure out. You only have to put like 3 different puzzle pieces together. This guy, Sidney, was an American chemist and spy master who headed the CIA in the 1950s when MK Ultra was happening. He was like the main guy. And then Gordon Thomas, who was an investigative journalist who would expose a lot of Mossad and undercover agencies and things that they were doing in secret and spying, especially in intelligence agencies. He made a book. Yeah, that book, Secrets and Lies. That was about Sidney. He was exploring the world of dark magic for the CIA. Yeah, they recruited clairvoyants, medium psychics, specialists in demonology, witches and wizards and Satanists, occult practitioners, and more for the CIA. And then gave all the information to the government. Look, I know that they do anything to win a war, but they haven't been winning wars. Yeah, it seems like the demons have been losing their power, huh? I wonder why.
Yeah, they are losing their power because people are starting to wake up.
There's a book written in 1923 that the wealthiest people in the world have been passing around for over 100 years. And the reason most people have never heard about it is because they really don't want you to. The man known as the godfather of advertising once said, nobody should be allowed to have anything to do with advertising until they read this book 7 times. It changed my life. This man is the mastermind behind the early advertising of brands like Rolls-Royce, Dove, IBM, and even American Express in the early stages of their career. The book is called Scientific Advertising, and it's the secret weapon to making money no matter what generation you're in. And last night, I stayed up till...
By the way, it's available on the internet. Just Google it. It comes on the in the PDF form.
3 a.m. reading this book. Just give me 9 seconds and I'll sum the entire thing up for you. Basically, there's 5 main principles in this book. Number 1, human nature is perpetual. And all that's saying is the psychology behind why people consume has never changed and it will never change. Number 2, people are motivated by self-interest. Every piece of marketing that has ever worked has worked because it spoke directly to what that person already wanted for themselves. You don't have to convince people. Number 3, curiosity is king. The author writes, curiosity is one of the strongest human incentives. We deploy it whenever we can, which is exactly why I started this video the way that I did, because if I didn't, you wouldn't have watched this far. Now, if you want the other 2 principles, the same principles that I use to help my 6- and 7-figure clients build personal brands, plus an entire library of psychology hacks, just comment the word mine below and I'll send you everything.
King Charles is running out of time. His swollen sausage fingers are reaching their limits. And according to whistleblowers deep inside the palace, the monarch has been diagnosed with Kuru, the ruthless prion disease triggered by consuming infected human brain tissue. For years, Charles has faithfully upheld one of the royal family's most closely guarded traditions, ancient Babylonian rites that include the ritual consumption of human flesh. Rites whispered about for centuries, but never proven until now. As his highly redacted links to Jeffrey Epstein detonate in the open, the walls are closing in. This is the reckoning the firm has dreaded for decades. Because the moment the British monarch is laid bare before the world, there's no stopping the storm that follows. Charles's reign is hanging by the thinnest of threads, and that thread is snapping as we speak. The Epstein files ripped the mask off the global elite's true depravity. Paedophilia, cannibalism, eugenics, child sacrifice. The worst vices known to man, practiced in secret for generations. Just like King Charles's ancestor and namesake, King Charles II.
Things your history teacher never told you. King Charles II of England drank human skulls. It was a popular medicine called the King's Drops. He paid a fortune for pulverized human skull mixed with alcohol to cure his ailments. Basically, the King of England was a cannibal who thought drinking dead people would make him feel alive.
You know what? God is revealing and exposing and removing the evil ones.
A 2-year-old woman with advanced Alzheimer's who was bedridden and incontinent for 10 years was given a high dose of magic mushrooms and started talking again, started recognizing people, was telling stories, started walking again, got back bladder control, started making eye contact, and even cracked jokes. And this was just one person, but it still shows how this could affect other people and how potentially when given a diagnosis like this, some brain functionality might still be there, just locked away. It's very baller. I hope we look into this more. Here's the source of the case report if you want a screenshot to check it out for yourself.
Microdosing at least once a week should be the standard.
Want to know something that they don't want you to know? Intermittent hypoxia releases growth hormones, stem cells, EPO, VEGF, and can increase your heart health, your brain health, your gut health in that order. Why don't they want you to know this? Because stem cells are $25,000 if you want to get them from the doc. That's why they don't want you to know about that. So what is intermittent hypoxia and how can you do this yourself? Breath holds. You want to heal from an injury right now? You want to heal from a disease? I'm going to show you how. 60 to 90 seconds a day, you are going to exhale and hold your breath for 60 to 90 seconds every single day. And you can do whatever breath work you want to do prior. I recommend doing some activation style breath work before, and then you're going to just chill. and you're going to go into parasympathetic, and you're going to let that growth hormone release and those stem cells release, and you are going to allow your body to feel safe enough to heal so that you don't have to go out of pocket. Look it up if you don't believe me. Go on fucking the chat and check out all the studies showing intermittent hypoxia and the effects it has on the body. The myelin sheath, the EPO, the red blood cell count, the fucking resting heart rate dropping like a stone. You want to live longer? That's how you do it. You want health? You want to do cardio without doing cardio? That's how you do it. Thank me later.
There is a building material that does not burn. It does not rot. It does not let mold grow. Pests cannot eat through it. And the longer it stands, the stronger it gets, turning over decades into literal stone. It breathes like living wood, regulating temperature and humidity without any mechanical system. A wall of it costs a family almost nothing to heat or cool. And the core ingredient can be grown from seed in just 120 days. Then, in 1937, the United States government made it a crime to grow the plant it comes from. Not because it failed, because 3 powerful men decided it threatened their fortunes. This is the story of hempcrete, the criminalized building material that could have given every American family a home that is fireproof, indestructible, and completely free from corporate dependence, and the names of the men who made sure that never happened. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. The archive opens in France, not in the 1980s when modern architects rediscovered this material. The archive opens in the 6th century AD, 500 years after the fall of Rome, along the Sarthe River. Here, engineers of the Merovingian kingdom constructed bridge abutments from a mortar made of hemp fibers and lime. Those bridges are gone, but the hemp-lime foundations they rested on remain. Archaeologists found them completely intact 1,400 years later. Across the world in India, inside the carved Buddhist caves of Ellora, the plaster lining the walls has protected intricate carvings from monsoon humidity for over 15 centuries. When scientists analyzed it in 2016, they found pounded hemp. The caves flood during the rainy season, yet the plaster has not crumbled, not molded, not failed. The formula is almost absurdly simple. Take the woody inner core of a hemp plant, called the hurd, the part that rope makers historically threw away as waste. Mix it with lime and water, pack it into wall forms around a timber frame, and wait. What happens next is alchemy. The lime reacts with carbon dioxide in the air through a process called carbonation. Over days, weeks, and years, sometimes 12 years, the lime slowly reverts to calcium carbonate. It turns back into stone. The hemp fibers become encased in a mineral matrix. The wall literally petrifies, becoming harder and more resilient every single year it stands.
It's exhausting knowing how greedy truly runs our world. You know, sickening. Oh. That is scary. Oh.
The video you just watched.
Someone throw holy water.
Reveals Lady Gaga's dark hidden side, and what she has been hiding is terrifying. For years, many of us believed that Lady Gaga was one of the artists who stayed on the right path to become famous, but in reality, not at all. She was actually one of the first to choose the dark side, and there are many videos of her that are genuinely disturbing. For some time now, she has been making more and more strange appearances. It started in 2011, when she came to the Grammys inside a demonic egg carried by people dressed like slaves who seemed to have Satan's horns growing from their head. That was 15 years ago, and it had already shocked people. But the worst part is her most recent appearance, like at Coachella in 2025 when she showed up with this choreography that deeply intrigued people.
If there's not evil, I don't know what.
the most recent one in February, where she appeared like this.
Ew.
All the fans present said they felt a strange sensation during that concert, as if their energy was being drained. Further Lady Gaga's career goes, the more she only appears with the same symbolism. Red everywhere, horns, and especially outfits that resemble Satan more and more each time. You might think it is not intentional on her part, but that is false. Everything changed in 2009 when she released the song Alejandro. The music video is literally a ritual that anyone can see. She clearly shows that she is no longer the same in it, because you can plainly see her swallowing a cross of Jesus, even though Lady Gaga had previously said she was Christian. Since she chose that path, many others have followed it and are doing even worse, and I do not think it is going to stop anytime soon.
This is how your eyes can change through detoxification, from green, gray, or hazel back to blue, and from dark brown back to light brown. Iridology will help you heal from anything because it shows where you're weak, and then you can use specific herbal formulas to target those weaknesses. There are only blue and brown eyes. As I said, green, gray, and hazel are all actually blue, and dark brown is actually light brown. The more holes your iris fibers have, the weaker your genetics, and the harder time you'll have in general life and also in detox. These light rings show that your nervous system is down and your adrenals need help. This white ring is a cholesterol ring and means you should be on a circulation formula. This orange color is sulfur and comes from antibiotic use and means you should be on a GI formula. These dots mean your lymph nodes are clogged, and like everyone, you should be on kidney and lymphatic formula.
Does the Bible say that when you lead the flock, you enter the Black Eye Club? It sure does. And that's next on the trumpet. It's right there at the end of Zechariah chapter 11. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean, dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. That's right eye. I totally read that while we were hand-making Bibles. That's a 1582 Apocrypha Bible, and that is going to be a codex. And both of them are wrapped with leather. Click on my picture right there, and then click on my link tree right there. That top link right there is all my handmade work. That second link is going to be the free PDF download that you can read along in the Dead Sea Scrolls with me every Wednesday and Saturday. And that right there is going to be the link to all my long-form content. The Codex starts out with the Book of Jubilees and the Book of Enoch, which are listed in the top 10 documents recovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's going to be number 6 and number 9. And it's the Book of Jubilees and the Book of Enoch that are to be enumerated amongst the Old Testament writings. They're listed in the Old Testament apocryphal books of an ancient Bible. One of the only ones I've ever seen list the New Testament Apocrypha. And Christ's descent into the underworld is captured right there in the Gospel of Nicodemus. And it's right there to close this ancient series of books right home. I go live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you go to my link in my bio page right there, you can download your PDF copies of the study guide that we'll be reading live together. I go by the trumpet, Ezekiel 33:3. And that scripture says that when I see the sword fall upon the land, I blow the trumpet and warn the people. Remember what the words of the prophet Daniel said. Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end. You probably read that. All I want you to do is see the sword. You know me and my family loves you, so like and follow the trumpet for more. And in Jesus' name, have a blessed day.
I think I'm going to get it, but I wonder if he can send it to Indonesia.
The 200 angels descend upon earth, right, to take wives and do naughty shit. But there are two leaders. There's Shemyaza, who was interested in the women mainly, and then there was Azazel, and I may be saying that wrong, but anyways, he wanted to transfer knowledge to humans immediately. He didn't give a damn about no pact to take wives or the blame that may come. He was just going in to teach humans first weapons for physical control of the body, right? Then onto beauty like makeup and jewelry to control humans' desires. But then he knew there was too much to teach alone, so he divided the subjects up, like constellations, sun signs, moon signs, and wrote those off to other angels, right? Now this knowledge was meant for heaven only, so God saw this and was like, nah, This man gotta go, okay? So while he destroys the other Watchers for mating with humans, he tells Azazel, I got something for your ass, right? The Archangel, Raphael, locks him up under a mountain with rocks covering his face. Mind you, he's alive. See, even though the other angels got freaky, God thought Azazel was the root of all sin on earth due to the forbidden knowledge he taught. And yes, Azazel is in the Bible. Leviticus 16, the Day of Atonement ritual. 2 goats are sacrificed, one to God, right? And then one to Azazel in the wilderness because they're sending sin back to the source. So they are acknowledging the book of Enoch, number 1. Number 2, my question is, he was imprisoned under a mountain alive. Is he still there? We'll talk about that next time.
It just came out in the Epstein file.
I'm on Team Yahweh.
The elites were purposely trying to lower testosterone in men so that men can't fight back, putting estrogen in the water, making men very passive and weak through social media. They're telling them, oh, your masculinity is toxic and you should actually just be super soft and sweet all the time and gentle and never fight against anything. You have to realize that men are much more logical than women. There was no masculinist movement. There was a feminist movement in order to propagandize women because they knew that women were the easier target because we are more emotional. And that's how the left is targeting all these women through emotional propaganda. Because they see all these videos online. They're like, oh, that's so sad. You know, they're getting deported. Their families being separated. And it's like, that was fake. That was not a real headline. It's to cover up the things that they're doing. Because if every single man had the mindset of, no, our job is to protect women and children no matter what, they would not be getting away with the things that they're getting away with.
This pedophile country music artist took his own life before he could be arrested. Meet Daniel Lee Martin, a somewhat famous name in the country music world and a reality TV show host. So Daniel Lee Martin started his country music career in the 1990s. And back then, he actually found pretty big success. He opened for acts like Willie Nelson, the Charlie Daniels Band, and he released 2 solo albums. People seemed to be really into his music, and he seemed like a star on the rise. A lot of people remember Charlie opening up for bigger acts, like I said, Charlie Daniels. Here he is pictured here doing that. And you can see here's some merch of his from all the way back in the 90s. Daniel Lee Martin was also a reality TV show host. His shows Brotherhood Outdoors and Backstage on the Backroads aired on the Sportsman's Channel. And yeah, needless to say, this dude had a pretty high profile in the public eye. But in 2018, Daniel Lee Martin would be indicted in Tennessee for some disturbing crimes. These included 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, 2 counts of aggravated sexual battery. I hate that we have to say that, but that's TikTok's rule. 2 counts of solicitation of a minor to grape a child. 2 counts of indecent exposure and 1 count of solicitation of a minor. So needless to say, Daniel Lee Martin behind the scenes was twisted. Disturbingly, his victims' ages ranged from 9 to 12 years old. So that happened in 2018, and then in 2019, he was arrested again in Florida. This time, the victim, who was under the age of 16, stated that while she was sitting on a couch next to Daniel, he exposed himself. He used lotion to do... What? Know what I'm talking about? And he showed her some very graphic videos. This happened several times when the victim was staying overnight at Daniel's house. Obviously, this was very disgusting and disturbing and put a massive stop on his country music career and his reality TV show career. So on February 14th, Valentine's Day 2020, a SWAT team went to Daniel's home in Florida to execute this arrest warrant. And when they entered his home, they discovered that Daniel Lee Martin had taken his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This is a really disturbing story, and I think it's easy to say that this guy was pure evil.
Looks can be deceiving, folks.
Scientists fed mice a junk diet until they were obese, diabetic, and developing fatty liver disease. Okay, poor little mice. But then they gave them a dose of psilocybin so tiny, the mice never got high. No trip, no brain effects at all. 12 weeks later, the weight gain slowed, blood sugar normalized, the fatty liver reversed, and the wildest part, their pancreas started repairing the exact cells the junk diet had destroyed. So if microdosing does this for mice, what do you think it does for humans? Drop a fire emoji if you think this is cool. And by the way, comment checklist, and I'll send you my journey safety checklist. DM me Sacred Sessions if you're curious about this work, and DM me Guide if you want to step into being a guide. As always, educational purposes only, not promoting use. Peace.
6 kid shows you should not let your children watch. Number 1, Cocomelon. Next time your kid is watching, count the seconds between camera cuts. You'll notice they happen every 1 to 3 seconds. This hyper-pacing is designed to keep a child's brain in a constant state of dopamine arousal, making real life feel painfully slow. Number 2, SpongeBob. Watch the first 2 seasons, then jump to season 10. Notice how SpongeBob's voice gets higher and his actions become more chaotic. A University of Virginia study found that just 9 minutes of this hyperactivity causes an immediate drop in a child's ability to solve problems. Number 3, Caillou. If you watch closely, Caillou almost never speaks in a normal tone. He uses a specific whine frequency that psychologists say is designed to trigger a parent's stress response, making you more likely to give in just to make it stop. Number 4, Peppa Pig. Look at how Peppa interacts with her dad. Count how many times she calls him silly or fat in a single episode. It's not a joke. It's teaching children that disrespecting parents is the cool way to behave. Before I show you the most addictive show ever made, hit that follow button and comment which of these shows your kids are currently obsessed with.
Is that Kevin Hart?
Number 5, The Teletubbies. Look up the Lion and Bear sketch from the 90s. Watch the background music and the way the animals move. It was so psychologically disturbing that it was banned in several countries for causing night terrors. Number 6, Baby Shark. Notice how the song never really ends. It uses a melodic loop that mimics involuntary musical imagery. It's literally designed to get stuck in a child's subconscious, so they demand to hear it over and over again.
You know, my favorite cartoon when I was growing up, Doraemon, Pinky and the Brain, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Gargoyles.
Was it just me, or was something very, very dark about this year's Met Gala? For me personally, the outfits were a bit boring considering the theme. Let's start off with Sarah Paulson. I bet you can't guess what she represented.
What's the name of this look? 1%.
Who cares?
How original. How original for the 1% to be dressed as the 1% for the Met Gala. Who would have ever guessed that? Everybody adore us. Everybody admire the 1% whose literal turds cost more than our houses. Moving on to original attire. I don't know who the hell this is, but I know when she arrived at the Met Gala, she thought, no one's going to be wearing this. Damn. We were so close, yet so far away at the same time. I guess originality in Hollywood is just going out the window these days, and they think
What's
we
with
don't
the
know
hands,
this.
man?
Anyways, this dress literally looks like something you'd see in a JE email. Speaking of, I know at least one woman spotted was in a lot of those emails. And everybody in this room is totally cool with it, which makes me question everybody in this room. Anna Wintour and the Making of Vogue, where fashion is religion and this is the Bible. Just type in the search bar Anna Wintour, Vogue, Met Gala, Peggy Segal, and you'll find something. And I know a lot of us are wondering what happens at these Met Gala after parties, and sometimes a picture speaks literally 1,000 words. I mean, where else will you find a Hollywood celebrity going astronaut in the front, Joe Dirt Nun mullet going on in the back, doing tarot readings for literal billionaires? I could not imagine a better time. We got millionaires wearing my 2012 sleep paralysis demon on their back. We got Heidi Klum pretending that every damn event is Halloween and that we always have to see her nipples. And it seems nipples out is the thing. And these are all the world's idols, all the people that form your opinions, tell you what to believe, give you songs to sing, movies to watch, shows to see. These are the ones that you guys idolize. That is mind-blowing to me. Sad, scary, to be frank, that I'm walking next to you maybe on a daily basis. I mean, you guys, these people are walking around looking like cauliflower butthole. This looks like an inflamed hemorrhoid situation. I'm not going to lie. That's the first thing I thought when I saw this. I felt bad for her. And at the end of the day, they only gave us one person that represented how the elite see us in District 12. Welcome to the 2026 Hunger Games.
Man, no ratings from here. I refuse to entertain their nonsense.
This is Devin Larrett, one of the most decorated arm wrestlers of all time, but he was also a special operator in the Canadian military. And when he was deployed to northern Iraq, he witnessed some very disturbing things. Let's give it a listen.
Probably the most interesting story that I'm in any way kind of close to is from that region of the world. And this is a whole nother can of worms, but it's so weird. It's demonic possession. You know, we had a guy, I worked with him very closely for a super smart guy, great guy, awesome dude, awesome soldier. And yeah, I mean, he got possessed by a demon. He started speaking in tongues. He knew everything about everybody. He could speak different languages. He knew everything about everybody's life. He knew all their sins. What? He knew all the sins people did, even from their childhood. What? He got taken to the medical system before they knew it. He was out of the medical system, and he was with the padre, the priest that comes along on some military missions. They did a what do you call that when you cleanse the demon from what do you call exorcism? They did an exorcism. They sent him back to Canada. He's now watched by the church. He has to go and check in with the church every week. I don't know what to tell you, Jeff.
This is how they're controlling the people and lowering your testosterone. But remember, iron will be mixed into clay. Book of Daniel. This translates to the metals that are heavy being mixed into mankind. And this is the root cause for all health issues, especially mental health issues, okay? Now, as these things increase, right, basically that dial is being turned up, okay? The measurement or the temperature will be increasing, if you will. And so this is why the Bible teaches us the only way to destroy Baal, this kind leaves by fasting and prayer. Matthew 17:21, they removed that from most of your Bibles.
So don't be like everybody else who is eating and drinking and worrying about what they're going to wear.
Right now, if you're not practicing the fasting and the praying on a regular basis,
you simply ain't going to make it. You have to teach your body how to activate the autophagy.
And autophagy, cellular regeneration / detoxification, can only be activated when we are detoxing and getting rid of the sugar.
And
nice view.
The herbs will heal the nations to end the curse. Revelations 22:3.
So learn the way and get healthy, wealthy, wise. Do the master's cleanse. Key lime, salt, cayenne, coconut, or olive oil every morning on an empty cup. This is going to change your life and destroy Beelzebub. JacobsLink.com. Or hit the link in the bio.
All right. Thank you, Tarzan.
And makes you gay. The studies have shown that. Really? The longer you watch porn, the more likely you are to become homosexual.
Well, because you're doing gay stuff, as you just proved.
Yeah. And studies have shown that because it is such a hardcore
not to mention, it totally destroys your view of women.
Drug. You know that porn's a way more hardcore drug than any substance we've ever measured, right? Yeah. And so because you always need a harder hit, eventually you're watching darker stuff.
A different hit. Mm-hmm. You need different.
So then you're watching kids.
Yeah.
And then you're watching tranny porn. And so there's been all these studies showing like the dudes who start watching tranny porn, they start questioning their gender. So like porn doesn't make you gay. It also makes you trans.
Jeez, man.
So it's the best way to destroy an entire civilization that doesn't have any of the testicular fortitude or moral muscle or chest left to actually be a threat to evil in the first place.
This rabbit hole is wild and nobody
can watch porn.
Has fully figured it out yet. That's right, we're talking about the glitter conspiracy. You know, glitter, arts and crafts, makeup, birthday cards, that glitter. But did you know that two of the biggest glitter manufacturers in the US are both in New Jersey? And both are weirdly super secretive about how they make it and who's buying it. So back in 2018, there were reports of a national glitter shortage. So the New York Times sent an investigative reporter to one of the big two companies, GlitterX, to find out what was going on. When she arrived, she asked if she could tour the factory. You know, pretty common stuff when you're working on a story about something like this. But they flat out refused. They wouldn't even let her near a room where she could hear the machines, which is pretty odd. And apparently, even GlitterX's buyers aren't allowed to know how they make their products. She was allowed to interview the former manager of
XChatGPT
GlitterX, but during the interview, all of her questions were basically stonewalled. The reporter asked what was their biggest industry that GlitterX serves, and the manager replied, "I absolutely can't tell you." Following up with that, she was asked if she could say who their largest customer was, to which the manager said, "Oh God, yes, and you would never guess it, just let's leave it at that." The reporter pressed further, asking why she can't divulge any of that information, and was basically told that this customer doesn't want anyone to know it's glitter, and if you looked at it, you wouldn't be able to tell. And the final question was if anyone would be able to even see glitter in the finished product of whatever it is they're using it for. And the manager said, "Yeah, you'd be able to see something, but yeah, I can't," and ended the interview. And that's when the internet lost its mind. Because who is secretly buying massive amounts of glitter, and why don't they want us to know? Now, we know glitter is used in things like cosmetics, crafts, cars, money, credit cards.
Didi and Jeffrey Epstein.
Cards, ID cards, industrial coatings, and even markers in animal feed studies. One of the popular theories is that the boat industry is buying all the glitter, where they use it in their paint. The problem is you can usually see the sparkle in the boat paint, which kind of clashes with the idea that you wouldn't know it's glitter. Glitter was first developed by this guy, Henry Rushman, in 1967, who, incidentally, also worked on the Manhattan Project, helping us to make the first atomic weapons. He also founded the other major glitter company in New Jersey, Meadowbrook Inventions. According to his son, glitter is used primarily for things like currency, passports, toothpaste, rocket fuel, and also by the military.
Did he just say toothpaste? What?
Who use it for chaff to disrupt radar or heat-seeking missiles, or to even simulate bad weather conditions. He even mentioned Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey, using glitter in these alleged new types of batteries that are far more powerful than anything we're aware of. Allegedly. But recently, this theory has taken a little bit of a darker turn. Some people have started comparing glitter under a microscope to cremated human remains, ashes, and people are claiming that there's an uncanny similarity between the two. So now, people are wondering if it's somehow connected to things like funeral homes, crematoriums, or the mystery of why fewer new cemeteries are being built. Totally speculative, of course. But anyone claiming to be in the funeral industry commenting on those videos will deny it up and down, so it's probably not that.
Nobody's talking about this, but we literally lost centuries of hair care knowledge within one generation when women started cutting their hair short in the 1920s. For generations before that, women almost always had kept their hair long. Extremely long hair was the standard of beauty, and mothers passed down their hair care secrets to their daughters like clockwork. Then the iconic bob happened. Short hair became this bold symbol of female independence, a rejection of everything traditional. And I'm not saying that was bad, but here's what nobody anticipated. When women began cutting off all of that hair, the knowledge about how to grow and maintain it just vanished. It was gone in a single generation. Suddenly, now, beauty corporations saw an opening. They started selling us fear and insecurity, convincing us we needed all of these products to have beautiful hair. Shampoo, conditioners, styling creams, the works. Funny enough, liquid shampoo was only invented in 1927, right in the middle of all this. Women had been growing incredibly long, healthy hair for centuries without it. But now we were told we couldn't possibly manage without buying something. But here's the thing, short hair actually requires more products to look good. So these companies made out like bandits.
Her hair is so beautiful.
Fast forward to today, and long hair is considered desirable again. But now we've got a problem. Nobody remembers how to actually grow it and care for it properly so it can retain length. It's not as simple as just not cutting it. A decade ago, my hair was chin length and had never grown past my rib cage. When I started looking to the past, incorporating historical techniques that had been forgotten, my hair finally started growing and maintaining length, and growing to tailbone length, which was longer than it had ever been prior to that. The answers were there all along. We just had to remember where to look.
I regret to inform you that Pilates was made for men, but not for fun reasons, for war reasons. During World War I, a lot of soldiers were missing limbs or just injured and weak. They were literally wasting away in hospital beds. So this German guy, Joseph Pilates, was like, absolutely not. He started attaching springs to these hospital beds to help bedridden men rebuild strength without even standing up, which was basically the blueprint for the reformer machines we use today. Mr. Pilates was very passionate about this because he was really sick as a kid. So he got into gymnastics, bodybuilding, martial arts, even circus performing. And when he invented Pilates, he called it contrology because the point of it was to control your body. After the war, he moved to New York with his wife Clara and opened up a studio, and dancers quickly became obsessed. Then some of the biggest names in dance started using it, like George Balanchine, who basically built modern ballet in America. Also Martha Graham, who is considered the founder of modern dance. Once the dance world got a hold of it, it became mainstream and just never went away, which means today millions of people are still doing modified versions of wartime rehabilitation exercises. So technically, every Pilates class is a very expensive historical reenactment. Thank you.
Here's all the evidence that connects the lost city of Atlantis to Spain. So every single major religion on earth talks about this great global catastrophic flood. The Bible, the Quran, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Hindu texts, even the indigenous cultures across the Americas talk about this. Civilizations that never had contact with each other, they all remember the same event. Now, scientists call this event the Younger Dryas. Around 12,000 years ago, something hit the earth. The climate collapsed in weeks, melted the ice caps, caused the sea levels to rise, and created these crazy tsunamis that wiped out the entire civilization. Here's where it gets interesting. Around the year 360 before Christ, the Greek philosopher Plato described one of these civilizations lost in this very exact same event. He called that civilization Atlantis. And he was actually pretty specific about where it was. He said it was beyond the Pillars of Hercules. The Pillars of Hercules are literally featured on the Spanish flag, and that exact same location is now actually called the Strait of Gibraltar in the south of Spain. Now, here's where Spain gets really involved in the conversation of Atlantis, bro, because there are two civilizations connected to Atlantis on Spanish soil. One appeared on the Atlantic coast of Spain, right where Plato said Atlantis was. The other sits on the Spanish islands right next to the alternate location of Atlantis, the Rishat structure. Both options are barely talked about, and I'm going to be explaining them over the next few parts of the series, so follow me if you don't want to miss it.
Anne Boleyn was executed 490 years ago, and historians say that in her final hours, she pulled off two masterstrokes of political propaganda. The first is that she wore an English hood rather than her usual French style, a final statement of loyalty to England, and a last declaration of her dignity and legitimacy as queen. The second was while she was on the scaffold, she delivered a calculated speech. In it, she calls Henry a noble prince and asks people to pray for the king. She doesn't confess nor condemn him either. She was thinking of her daughter Elizabeth, and this was her last move to try and protect her. The Chronicles of Henry VIII record what happens next. Anne knelt, and despite what you see, she was not blindfolded, but she was in a high state of distress and kept looking around, perhaps still waiting for a reprieve that wasn't coming. The French swordsman knew that someone in this state might flinch, and that could make for a botched job. So he told her, "Madam, don't fear. I will wait for you to tell me." He turned towards the stairs and shouted, "Bring me the sword." Ooh. She turned to look, distracted, and he made a signal, and quickly an assistant handed him the sword hidden in straw, and he delivered the blow without being noticed by the lady, striking her head off with a single stroke while she was still looking away. She was buried in an elm arrow chest in the Tower Chapel. Elizabeth never spoke of her mother publicly, but in 1558, she became queen and ruled for 45 years. Before Anne Boleyn died, she asked us, "If any person will meddle of my cause, I require him to judge best." And I'd say we've done just that.
That is cold.
Plato warned us a long time ago that when a society stops valuing truth, it doesn't collapse into chaos, it collapses into pleasure. In the Republic, Plato wasn't just describing ancient Athens, he was actually mapping the life cycle of future civilizations. So first truth becomes optional, and then comfort becomes sacred, and then pleasure becomes the highest value. When pleasure becomes the goal, people lose purpose. And when they lose purpose, they lose discipline. When they lose discipline, the society becomes ungovernable.
Magic mushrooms tanked this guy's sperm by 69%, and 3 months later, it was the best it had ever been. So the psychedelic facilitator sat with 1,600 people in the underground. This is the study that I've been waiting for years.
Is that legal or illegal?
And here's why. The man who ran this experiment on himself is Brian Johnson. Probably heard of him. He is the most obsessive biohacker on the planet. He spends $2 million a year measuring every cell in his body. He's not funded by a pharmaceutical company, so when he takes a heroic dose of magic mushrooms and his sperm drops off a cliff, then rebounds to his best levels over 3 months later with the inflammation down, brain markers improved, and metabolic flexibility up, I take that as seriously as a clinical trial because he essentially is one. So the dip wasn't damage. It was the body reorganizing. Psychedelics takes that rigid patterns your body has been holding and they shake them loose so the system can rebuild. Fertility, mood, inflammation, relationships, it all moves through the same door. So drop a mushroom emoji in the comments if you think this is kind of cool and promising data. And If you've ever felt that mushrooms optimized your health, comment checklist and I'll send you my free journey checklist. This is, as always, for educational purposes, not promoting use. And DM if you want to chat. Peace.
Black Keeper Israelites? It'll blow your mind. It's a cult, basically, where they think black people are the only people that can enter the kingdom of heaven. They believe that black people are the true Israel. They're God's true chosen people. And so if you're not black, you're essentially going to hell. According to the Black Hebrew Israelite theology, you and I are on a fast track to hell right now.
Interesting. Why do they think that?
It's the same thing with the KKK leader guy. They can cherry pick things from scripture and quote mine to find things that fit their narrative.
There's a town called Pulaski. They say that the KKK was kind of born out of Pulaski. I did this woman's podcast and she went down and interviewed the leader down there today. The interviewer asked him if his wife or his son or somebody was dying in the hospital and the only blood available for the blood transfusion would have been a black person's blood. He said he would refuse it and let his wife and kid die.
Oh, by the way, I saw them on YouTube debating God Logic apologists. They got cooked, destroyed. And God Logic is a black man too.
How many things in your life beep? Think about this. You get in the car today. How many times does it beep? It beeps when you open the door. It beeps if you don't put on your seatbelt. It beeps when you do anything. Oh, you're getting a little close to the car to the right. It beeps. Think about your washer machine. It beeps when you open the door. It beeps when you close the door. It beeps when you turn it on. It beeps when you turn it off. Think about how everything is beeping, 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 beeping. This is just one sound technique that's designed to control your brain, to put you in a controlling state. Really? How do you train a dog? They have a clicker. You make the sound, click, and then you give the dog a treat. And the dog connects the sound of the click with the treat, or the sound of the click with the penalty. And then it learns. You are controlling the animal. The elites are doing the same thing. And that's just one sound technique. There are dozens that are being used. Example, you're in your house. You're sitting, it's quiet, there's nobody in your house. It's beautiful, you're peaceful. And then the power goes out. And all of a sudden you realize, wow, it's really quiet now. And then the power goes on, and then you hear for the first time that low-level hum of all the different devices in your house that's been in the background the entire time. That is a weapon being used to control your brain, to put you in a state of submissiveness where you will do what I tell you to do. This is a technique that's being used and has been used and is incredibly effective. Why? Because you never see it coming and you have no knowledge that it's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Beep, put your seatbelt on. Beep, put your seatbelt on. Beep. I'm putting my seatbelt on to stop the beep. The beep is pain. It's causing you to feel pain. It's irritation. It's annoyance. It's something you want to stop. And this is how we program you. It's a beautiful thing. I can program you. I can control you. I can make you do anything I want. That's what the elites know. If you become aware of this, now you start taking your power and control back. But if you are asleep and you're not aware of it, it's so easy to manipulate you and control you.
Wow, this is powerful. So that means deaf people are more dominant?
On today's episode of That's Suspicious.
That's suspicious.
When I was watching the Golden Globes, the only thing I could think is that Leonardo DiCaprio looked like Jack Nicholson. So I started down the rabbit hole.
He does.
Did you know that this is who Leonardo DiCaprio says is his dad? This is a picture of Jack Nicholson's son. Here is some pictures of Leonardo DiCaprio and Jack Nicholson. Now, did you know that they were neighbors so close that they could walk to each other's house? When Leo was little, he used to go play over at Jack Nicholson's house. Jack Nicholson gave him advice on acting, gave him advice on women. Leonardo DiCaprio's mom would have been exactly 30 when she got pregnant with him. So, after digging deep into the internet, I find out that she once said in an article that that was not Leo's biological father, but that she met him when she was pregnant and they were married. So, who is Leo's real dad? I think he needs an ancestry test. What do you think?
Jack Nicholson?
Some people get really offended when you say Europeans were disgusting, but they were. Let me introduce you to my friend, Francisco de Orellana. And trust me, you never want to meet this man. If you shake his hand, you're going to die. Francisco here was an explorer of Spain, and he went to the Amazon. He didn't find a wilderness. It wasn't just a rainforest. He found millions of people. He was the first European to travel all the way through the Amazon River, right? When they came back a century later, all they saw was, overgrown forest. They didn't see any people, just small little tribes, nothing like he described. So they thought he was a liar. Turns out he unintentionally wiped out 90% of the population. He didn't even know. He just stopped by, said hi, went about his day, and had no idea the impact he had. Millions of people died because of this guy's diseases. The diseases that he brought over that killed them were influenza, smallpox, measles. All of these diseases are zoonotic diseases, which means they actually were from animals and spread to humans because Europeans lived in dense populations and lived super close to animals. When I say things like Europeans were filthy, they were disgusting, and they are the reasons why we have to take these jabs, right? It's true. I lived not too far from an Indian mound here in Florida where the Timucans were killed by the Spaniards from the white men's disease. That's literally what it says here. It's usually the same descendants of those people who are telling us we need these so much. If we need to go to Africa and Asia and save people with these things. If they had these things, they would love to have access to these things. Those people don't need you telling them how to live. Those people wish you never came, because if you never came, they would have never needed them in the first place.
They literally conquered the new world with the seas.
What is actually happening right now? I'm so confused. Who the heck is this? Who the heck are you, lady? I don't think so. Not for a damn second. Ooh. Actually, I will give you guys 5-10 seconds to guess who this is. I am that confident that you don't recognize her. What's happening? I actually thought it was one of the Judd sisters for a moment. I'll give you guys a few clues as to who this is, see if you can guess. She was in a series called Living Dolls, maybe appeared in Cheers, Saved by the Bell, or a show called Blossom, but I think what she's most known for, other than exposing Scientology, was the King of Queens. Recognize her yet?
I know, and then he just kept going and digging himself deeper, saying he didn't mean it, trying to blame it on Ray. Oh, honey, it's not you, it's Deborah. Ray says she's a real tight ass. And then he starts in there.
What I always liked about Leah Remini is that she was always herself. She always said what she thought. She didn't care what anybody thought about her. She always had this mysterious, ornery smirk about her. Her face was always very full of personality. She always showed tons of expression. And now she looks like an entirely different person. She doesn't even look anything like she did when she was younger. In fact, when she was younger, she looked like an entirely different actress I can't remember the name of right now, but what's happening? I literally feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. You're telling me this is now Leah Remini? If I went into a coma 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of Botox right there.
I literally wouldn't recognize any of these people anymore.
He came in and she was rocking the baby like half asleep in the rocking chair. The rocking chair was a few feet off the ground. I'll never forget. Wild story. I'm in Seattle as a senior pastor. We're getting a lot of people. We meet late at night. We kind of got this punk alternative rock goth church with candles meeting in the middle of the night. You know, everybody's wearing black. And so we ended up getting a lot of punk rock guys and a lot of Wiccan girls, a lot of gals that were into witchcraft. And I'm talking full seance, covens. So what happens is I'm meeting with this gal. She meets Jesus. She gets genuinely saved. She gets baptized. And then she starts talking about these dreams and visions and what she's seeing and hearing. And it was way off. And there was a time I met with her and her husband. They had a baby. He was an engineer, super logical, linear guy. He came in and she was rocking the baby like half asleep in the rocking chair. And the rocking chair was a few feet off the ground. They called for a meeting with me. He's like, we got to go meet with the pastor.
We need a Catholic priest or you.
Yeah.
Quick.
And so she said, oh, that's what my mom did. That's what my grandmother did. She grew up in a coven. Her mom and grandma literally were witches and ran a witchcraft store and did seances and cast spells. And she grew up there as a little girl. So she's like multi-generation witchcraft. But now she meets Jesus. She really does love Jesus. But there's these paranormal, supernatural things that are happening. And she's getting weird dreams and visions. I ended up having a conversation with them. I asked her, who's showing you all this? Who's telling you all this? She says, well, Jesus. She's talking about light and auras and all these things that are not in the Bible. And I looked at her. I said, to the highest ranking spirit that is controlling and working through this woman, you are bound in the name of Jesus Christ. I come as his servant. I come with his delegated authority. I command that you step forward and answer questions truthfully that'll stand as truth before the white throne judgment of Jesus Christ. To the highest spirit holding authority that is working in her life or speaking to her, what is your name? She coiled up like a snake. Her husband was there. She looked like a different person. And with a male voice, she said, my name is Jesus. I said, to the highest ranking spirit speaking to and through this woman, are you Jesus Christ of Nazareth, born of the Virgin Mary? And it cackled and said, no, not that Jesus. She starts crying. Her husband is mortified. I'm not saying she was demonically possessed, but she was oppressed. And this demon told this new Christian girl it was Jesus. Makes sense because Jesus says in John 8 that Satan is a father of lies. The Apostle Paul says that Satan comes masquerading like an angel of light. And so if you're going to be a liar and a deceiver, what better way to deceive people than tell them you're Jesus?
Unfortunately, this is going to happen more and more as we are in the last days.
Did you know that a sex worker in ancient Athens once escaped conviction at trial because her lawyer ripped open her dress in court? According to ancient writers, the jury immediately acquitted her upon seeing her naked body. The woman's name was Phryne, and she was one of the most famous elite courtesans of 4th century BC Greece. She was so beautiful that the sculptor Praxiteles supposedly used her as a model for his statue of the goddess Aphrodite. But around 350 BCE, Phryne was brought before an Athenian court and accused of impiety. The exact charge is unclear to us, but apparently...
What is impiety?
According to Athenaeus, she once dramatically recreated the birth of Aphrodite by stripping and entering the sea during a festival. So there's a lot of nakedness in this story. Her defender in court was the famous Athenian orator Hyperides. And according to Athenaeus, who is quoting earlier writers, the trial was not going in her favour. So Hyperides makes an interesting choice, rips open Phryne's robe, and exposes her naked body to the jury. Athenaeus writes that he did this to arouse a sense of pity and awe amongst the jurors. Another account appears in the Lives of the 10 Orators, traditionally attributed to Plutarch, which also describes Hyperides revealing Phryne's body before the court. According to these sources, the jurors were so stunned and perhaps convinced that someone so beautiful must be favoured by the gods. And so according to the story, they acquitted her immediately. To the Greeks, beauty was not just aesthetic. For example, in Plato's Symposium, he describes beauty as something that leads the soul towards truth and goodness. Now, modern historians do debate whether the story is literal or a later anecdote designed to highlight Phryne's legendary beauty. But the tale of Phryne survives in several ancient texts and has become probably one of the most famous courtroom stories of the ancient world, if not of all time. Some historians even designate her as one of the original It Girls. But of course, more broadly, this is about beauty, power, and gender roles. So do you think one of the most famous women in Greece won her freedom by putting it all on show in court? Or do you think this was something fabricated to demonstrate her raw beauty? Let me know in the comments what you make of this one.
You guilty. Oh, wait. You're not guilty.
So you mean to tell me that these 71 girls were in New York just doing some tunnel exploration dressed like this and just happened to pop up in a tunnel underneath of a synagogue yet again? 71 girls rescued today in New York City, and the question is, the official narrative is that they were doing some tunnel exploration from the park and got lost.
Why are they laughing? Look.
And had to be rescued.
Look.
tunnel exploration dressed like that? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. What is going
Rescue on what? They're laughing.
Going on with these synagogues and these tunnels and children? It's very suspicious. I'm not making any accusations here, but you tell me down in the comments. What do you think these girls were doing in a tunnel underneath a synagogue in Brooklyn, New York?
You can't tell me that these two people or these two people are not the exact same person. And I'm going to explain why I think that as somebody whose niche, whose expertise in this world is the system, the shadow, the unconscious, and the underworld. So I used to think way back when, really naively, that, oh, when all of the bad people, then the world will be a better place. And I learned the hard way that that is just not how things work. And not only is it likely that they will reincarnate, but with these people, the celebrities, the politicians, the 1%, they are fallen angels. Not really. Angels never really were, but that's what they call themselves. And they are a very advanced race. And what they do is what I call soul swapping. Maybe other people call it that. And they basically have a technology and an ability to transfer their soul into another body. So if you've seen, and maybe you have, there's a lot of videos going around about how a lot of the celebrities we know today look like famous people of the past. So that's what they do. They either create the being like Beyonce and Blue Ivy. I don't even know if she birthed that child. I cannot say that for sure. But sometimes there's cloning involved, and then they transfer their soul into the new vessel where people love them and will continue to worship them. Like Sabrina Carpenter, guys. She's just no.
I think they're more Nephilim than fallen angels. All right, folks. Thank you for staying till the end. I hope you like my lineup. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss my next video. All right. Have a wonderful day and God bless. Oh, you can follow me on Instagram at Brosky Ray.